2025 with adoption of the agenda as amended to remove our notice of motion on item 12A under correspondence. I'm going to ask Councillor Luciao to respond to that.
Thank you, Mayor Stoles. Yes, so I've been working with members of the community to bring this forward. I know that this is a hard subject for people to talk about and approach. The intent with this motion is to create a stronger community, not to create a divide between people. So I feel the Jewish community and their voices have not been adequately heard before this motion came forward. So I'm looking to work with the Jewish community so we can bring forward a motion that will create a better community where the Jewish community feels safe and accepted, because the stories that I'm hearing from both sides are concerning, and we don't want that to continue in our community. So I am going to reach out to everybody who has reached out to me, anybody else in this community who wants to have their opinions heard on this. And I would like to work with both sides of this to come forward with something that everybody in this community feels happy and safe with.
Thank you, Councillor Luciano. I have a seconder for amending that motion. Please, Councillor Stapenhurst. I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? No. Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Going to move on to adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting of October 28th. Someone want to make that motion for me, please? Councillor Palmer, Councillor Devlin, all in favor? Motion's carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor Stoles. Yeah, just following up on the public notification bylaw, which we passed last meeting.
Right.
And I did advise that I was probably going to come back with some kind of motion to create a policy. I believe staff are already in that process, but I'd like to formalize that with a motion that staff prepare a draft public notification policy for consideration of the governance committee that includes provision for newspaper ads and the city newsletter distribution.
That's a motion that you're making, Councillor?
Yes.
I have a seconder for that motion, Councillor Cherry. Any further, do you want to elaborate any further on that?
I think it's self-explanatory. I think staff have done an outstanding job of getting this together. There was lots of good reasons. There was a debate at this table. We have a better bylaw, I would say, in general than what we had before. But there's still this gap of newspaper ads and the community newsletter, which staff have been very clear that that's the intent. And so by having that as a policy, it doesn't bind us, but still puts that intention, formalizes that intention. So that's basically it.
Good. Any comments, Councillor Cherry?
Yeah, I just have a question, even though I seconded it. When you stated the term provision, I just am curious, is this going to be a must or a may statement in the policy?
But it's
That you would, what are your intentions here?
yeah. It's basic. My intentions, Mayor Stoles, is to formalize staff's intent to use newspaper ads and to put it in our newsletter, and so that would be our policy. Because it's a policy, it is
Versus the
non-binding,
bylaw.
and staff will be coming back with the appropriate wording. So yeah, provision gives staff, Mayor Stoles, provision gives staff
The ability to do
to
what they
figure it
feel is
out.
necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? No. Motion's carried. Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Moving on to any other business arising from the minutes. Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, just on the permissive tax exemption, I can't remember if we had discussion at this table and at the finance committee to be reviewing that process. And I'm just wondering if there's anything formal in place. I don't want it to get missed in having that same discussion next year.
Okay, Ms. Floyd, comment on that, or should I go to Ms. Moore? Any formal thing to review the permissive tax exemption in the next year?
Through the chair of the finance committee, made a motion, I believe, to refer it to the governance committee in the new year, and so we've brought that in our schedules.
Okay,
We're
thank
good
you.
with that? All right.
That's it.
Any other business? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to announcements from the mayor. just want to express our city's condolences to the city of Peachland. Councillor Keith Tom has passed away last week. Mr. Tom was extremely generous with our new council at Silga and in giving them information, guidance, and answering questions, and I'm very much appreciative of that. Mr. Tom had some cardiac issues and was traveling through Revelstoke at the time of his demise. So we will send a notice to the city of Peachland and let them know our condolences, but I just wanted the community to be aware. He definitely had played a major role, not only in his community, but in communities throughout Silga. Any comments, Mr. Parliament?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I knew Mr. Tom from my previous employ with both Summerland back in the day and Sycamoose. He was part of Silga. Silga is being hosted next year here in Revelstoke. I had a chance to have dinner with him a couple of months ago, and he was promoting our community so passionately, although representing Peachland, but sitting on Silga. I just want to say thank you to our fire and rescue service team that responded. As you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, he passed here in Revelstoke, and kudos for our excellent emergency services team. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to move on. We have a presentation by HCMA regarding the Revelstoke Indoor Multi-Purpose Facility Feasibility Study. Couldn't get a longer title if we tried. So Mr. Harding, I believe you're going to weigh in. Mr. Parliament, do you have any statement prior to?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, less than 30 seconds. This is an update for all of council and the general public. Our next meeting in terms of the committee tasked with looking at this entire project is Monday, November 24th. So today is just to provide an update for all of council and the community on the work that we've done so far as we roll out this survey. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Harding, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. Great to be here with you, Mayor and Council. Great to be here to give a brief update on where the feasibility study is currently at right now. So I'd like to run through a few slides here. So just a bit of a roadmap, give you a bit of an update, talk about some next steps, and then share with you our schedule. Over the course of this feasibility study, we've gone through a number of cost estimating validation efforts. The first one being a bit of a benchmarking exercise. So we conducted across communities in BC and Alberta. We took a look at 12 different facilities, 6 that are completed and operational, 6 that are under either design or into construction at the moment, and collected that information in terms of their costs and what they're seeing. We've also validated what we were seeing at the beginning of this year in terms of our initial cost estimates, and we validated that against 2 additional independent sources. We've also took a look at a various number of variations of designs or scales of buildings or scopes to test out what different opportunities are available to us. I'll show you an image of some of those here soon. But all of these exercises have confirmed that the costs of construction for a new facility are approximately around $800 to $950 a square foot. Wanted to update in terms of the condition of the existing forum. Many of you will be familiar with this, but Watson Engineering continues to do ongoing review of the condition, the structural condition of the existing forum, and they are seeing continued deterioration of the roof structure, and they are recommending that it becomes increasingly necessary to impose further restrictions and snow load, and perhaps restrict the use of the facility. So something for us to understand. So as a first order of business, we took a look at what does that mean in terms of renovating the existing forum? And so we took a look at a version of that. And so this version looked like some limited demolition. It took a look at demolition and replacement of the ice rink floor, new dashboards, glass netting, and then providing some additional addition to the building to provide more change room capacity and lobby space. And so as we look at what we learned from that exercise, there's a few advantages and disadvantages. Key advantages, it's a lower initial cost than a brand new facility, and it gives some time to build some reserves. The main disadvantages that we're seeing is while it would fix the roof portion of this, the building itself is still at its end of life. And so it only would extend the service life of the facility, maybe 10 or 15 years. The remainder of the building, such as the envelope and the mechanical systems and things like that, are still at its end of life. So, so for those reasons, it doesn't meet the evolving needs of the community. It does not account for future growth of the community, and it does not improve the accessibility of the existing facility. So it buys some time. The cost estimate is roughly around $23 million in order to do that. That does not include escalation value added onto that. So because of those reasons, renovating the forum and those significant challenges doesn't seem to be a long-term solution for the future of the community. This page illustrates a number of iterations that we went through from at the beginning, a renovation to the existing forum, all the way through to different scales of facilities, starting at 300 seat arena up to 2,000 seat, plus a gymnasium and walking track and things like that. So all of these to validate and to test what possibilities are available for the community. We've also started to analyze different sites. So here we have on here 4 different sites: Centennial Park, the Public Works and Forum, which is directly adjacent to the existing forum, the Pine Ridge Crescent, and Powerhouse Road. So all of those are being looked at and evaluated for their pros and cons in this process, and we intend to invite the public to provide a bit of feedback in terms of their preferences around these 4 sites. So the next steps that we're moving into is looking to try and determine priorities from the community through a survey. And one of the ways that we're looking to do that is to show a little bit of a ladder approach. And so, we understand that a core purpose of this process is the replacement of the existing forum and its services that it provides for the communities. And so looking at what is the base level that the community is interested in, and then on top of that would be layering in additional amenities as a way of understanding what is the priorities for the community. So when we look at that first rung of the ladder, the first one being that the community to select a base option that they would prefer. Option A would be a replacement forum, arena, and curling. And so this would provide the same level of service that's currently being offered to the community, but now in a brand new facility. So this includes a NHL size ice rink, roughly 800 seats, 5 team rooms, a junior A team room, and then 4 sheets of curling around it, as well as a walking and running track around that. Option B would be the replacement of the forum arena, but yet keep the existing curling club operational. And so understanding that the failing portions of the structure of the current facility is around the arena, the structure of the existing curling is possible to perhaps maintain with further study of that. And so this one would say, this would provide the same level of service to the community, and it would provide a new arena while maintaining the existing curling rink in its current location. This would have an increase in operational values for the existing arena because they would no longer be co-located. And then option C would be a replacement of the forum arena and then decommission the curling altogether. And so this would represent a decrease in service levels for the community, and it would replace the forum, but not the curling. And so then from there, you would be able to take a look at what additional amenities would be interested from the community. And this is where the ladder approach comes on, and the community can weigh in on where their priorities are from additional amenities, from increasing the spectator seating to community multipurpose rooms, to fitness centers, indoor climbing walls, or gymnasiums. And so each of these, the community can weigh in on. And so I want to just switch over here and give you a quick brief overview of how we intend to communicate this information to the public. One of the challenges that often comes up in surveys forms is if you ask the community what they would like, people want as much as they can. And what we're looking to do and be able to show through this platform is help educate the community in the implications, be it cost, be it other things, be it taxation, of those selections. And so I'm going to switch over here. Hopefully there's no problems. But what's shown here on the screen, this is an example of another project. The current survey is being developed as we speak, but I'll give you just an example of how this works in a different community and a different type of survey. But essentially it would be developed and delivered in the same way. But the community would be invited to a page similar to this, where there would be a welcome page and an introduction on how to do the survey. Table of contents on the left, information in the middle, and then on the right would be where the choices are calculated on the right-hand side. Next page would be how to participate, could include a video to help with instructions. And then the first step is in this version, it's saying the pools, but this would be where we would indicate our base option. And this is where people would be invited to select what they would want on their base option. So in this version, this is for a pool, but if you were to select one of these options, a calculated capital cost is tallied on the right-hand side, as well as other items that we could include, be it operating costs, as well as tax implications. Estimated annual household cost over a 30-year term would be included in this. So it's kind of like an educated way of making these decisions. The next item would be, you could select the next item, and these numbers would change as you go. And so then the next stage is the additional features. So this is where we would get into our additional features of the gymnasium, additional seating, those types of things. And this is where the public would have the opportunity to comment on those features and give a range from totally oppose that feature to totally support that feature. So if they totally support it, they could select that. And then in which case the capital cost is added. 1.6 million is added to the total capital cost. And then also they see the implications of what their taxation would be as they went through. So then each of these, you'd have an opportunity to contribute to the additional features that we want to include in the survey. Then we would have information about the participant. We would also talk about their personal results. And so at this point, we would ask them, how do you feel about what your final design is of the facility? We would also ask them what their comfort level is on annual taxation increases. And then the last page would give them a sense of group results, which helps them understand where their choices ranked within the sense of the community. In this particular one, the hot tub, 96% of the consensus throughout the community wanted that. And so they would get a bit of a feedback in terms of how that's landing within the community. So this tool is a really robust and really helpful tool as a way of helping the community navigate these really impactful decisions and what that means to them and what that means to the cost of the community. So I'll switch back here. There we go. Lastly is a schedule. We're currently here in November. We're building the Othello survey at the moment. We're inputting quantity surveyor numbers into that so that we have that information. At the end of November, we intend to meet with the advisory committee and run a test through that survey and see how it lands and work out any bugs that may be in there. Then beginning of December, we will start our outreach campaign to the community and update the survey as we go. The outreach campaign would go all the way to mid-January, in which case that at roughly around that point is when we intend to launch the survey and have that survey go live for 4 to 6 weeks in that range. So that wraps up our update and what our intentions are moving forward.
Okay. Any questions from Council Cherry?
Thanks, Your Worship. I just want to note that there are some discrepancies between the presentation that we saw on here and what's in our council package. So I was just looking for clarification on which one's correct and then hopefully have that correction made. The public sees the right info.
Can you elaborate?
Yes, base option A, B, and C is different on the presentation that Darren's provided us versus ours. That's, for example, Darren says 16 rooms and approximately 60,000 square feet. Sorry, 5 team rooms. Ours says 16 rooms and 54,000 square feet on all 3 of the options.
Mr. Harding, comment?
Yep. So there was a typo in those slides, which we have updated. So we can provide you with an updated information.
Okay, appreciate that.
Awesome. I do have one more.
Okay.
Just a question to the chair. You mentioned that depending on the options chosen, it'll show a base amount of what that would look like for taxation? Or did you state that it would be, you're asking the question of what do you feel comfortable by way of taxation? And the reason I'm asking is, I think it'd be good to put a section in there that states, this is before grants, sponsorships, donations, or partnerships. So the public knows all of that before. And
Mr. Harding, comment?
Yeah, yes. So great questions. Yes, we intend to approach it from 2 different sides. So you're correct in that on the right-hand side of the survey, it will be tallying up what they have selected as the capital cost and what that also equates to be as an estimated tax implication. And then at the end of the survey, it also asks them how they feel about that value. And outside of that, what comfort level would they have? What do they have in terms of that range? So we will be asking that question in 2 different ways to make sure that we capture it correctly.
perfect, thank you.
Any other question, Councilor Lucero?
Thank you, Marshals. Yeah, the question about site locations. I know it had been brought up in the committee about the 4 site locations that are outlined, and if the footprint of buildings as people contribute and want to add amenities, is there any section on site location for people to weigh in on in this survey?
Mr. Harding?
Yes, there will be. So not all the questions were shown here in this slide, but we do intend to ask two specific questions around them. We will be asking them, we intend to give them a pro and con of each site to help them understand the different nuances for each site. For example, on the Centennial Park site, it's a landfill site. There will be limitations in terms of soil conditions and those types of things. So we'll help them understand a pro and con list of each of those sites, and then we'll ask them to rank their preference of those sites. And then we will also ask them a more generic question of saying, ask them to comment on the characteristics of a site that they care about. So for example, proximity to downtown, or transit oriented, or things like that. So we'll give them a list of things that they can respond to that will help them weigh in on the characteristics of a site. So those are the 2 questions we intend to ask on the sites.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Plum?
Thank you, Mayor Souls. Thank you, Darren, for the presentation and sort of fleshing out, bring us up to date. Mayor Souls, I have a few sort of questions, I guess. The first is, we had a previous community survey done. I think that might have been with the previous council, I can't remember. And it appears that you're planning on taking a sort of a level up from that. Is that information that was done before going to be, captured as well? Won't be in this survey, but just for our understanding, or is that kind of lost effort that we've done in the past?
Mr. Harding?
Yeah, we don't see it as lost information. We're building on what was done before. So, it was done a number of years ago. The construction market, the situation has evolved. And so we're taking information from that. And so some of the key pieces that came from that were some decision-making priorities were stated back at that point. There were a few priorities listed in terms of types of multi-sport activities that were given at the time. And so we're carrying that forward and giving them an opportunity to reiterate the ranking of some of those priorities through these additional features option of this survey. So trying to take it a step level, trying to help them understand the implications of each of those selections, and to try and get a real-time understanding of where that's at, seeing as the construction world and the construction cost market has changed drastically since the last time we surveyed the public.
Thank you, Mayor Souls. And then the next is more of a comment. Thank you for reminding us again on the condition of the existing facility, that it's deteriorating, it's getting worse. Again, with that previous survey and previous councils, I'm not sure if it happened here, but there was essentially decisions made at the council table that we're not going to waste the community's money on reconditioning the existing facility. And so we're hearing that again. I know there's still a few people in the community who would like to salvage the memories of the forum, but it doesn't make sense, and especially with this for a 10-year building that's going to cost $23 million or $2.5 million a year just for capital costs. That's going to be a waste of money. So I'm just reiterating that I hope we don't spend too much more effort on saying that same thing over and over and over again. So on the next item, Mayor Souls, is on the funding. So the opportunity with tourism dollars, and there's different buckets. So I'm just wondering if we've had at the committee or the discussions of where opportunities are from tourism dollars. I see that as an important component for our community, making sure the tourism, because it is a big tourism facility, and making sure we maximize our ability, whether it's through the accommodation tax or other items. And so I hope that that's clearly understood, because it gets really scary if we just say, okay, this is all in the backs of the taxpayers. So if you can make some comment on how we're gathering that information, whether it's from Tourism Revelstoke, Chamber, or Economic Development, and then also how that will be, how we can provide that information in context of the overall costs.
Mr. Ernie?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's a really important piece to this survey, and it's something that we are looking at in terms of how do we communicate that clearly, that while we're trying to demonstrate what the total cost of a project like this would be, it's not the budget is not intended to be carried on the burden of the taxpayers, and that there are a number of different ways to seek for funding, to seek for budget, and that is anticipated in this process.
If Parliament would like to say something.
Yeah, in response to Councillor Palmer, yes, we're very aware of the challenges to access the tourism pot of funds. So specifically, to answer your question, we are aware of what other resort communities have done in terms of accessing some MRDT funds to assist in infrastructure upgrades and et cetera, whether it's water, sewer, rec facilities. Typically, they're not allowed, but there has been some flexibility just with cost escalation and everything going on. So the 14 resort municipalities have pitched to the province to make MRDT funds a little bit more flexible to addressing the tourism pressures on municipal infrastructure, no matter what it is. The second thing that we have pushed from the 14 resort municipalities to have the province look at a different bucket of funds designated for the ineligible infrastructure programs under the current either RMI or MRDT pot. Can we access some of the funds that you collect in tourism, Victoria, and have them shared amongst the 14 resort municipalities, similar to the Fair Share Agreement in the Northeast, similar to the Resource Benefit Alliance in the Northwest? Tourism creates billions of dollars, and if we were to have an agreement that funds flow back to those 14 resort municipalities to help pay for some of these major capital projects, it can be done without compromising either A, MRDT, or B, RMI funds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Souls. And then my last item to the mayor is on the survey itself. I'm looking forward to it. Sounds like you have good methodology. I think we all do surveys. I have some sort of academic background on surveys and how they're done well and how they're not done well. And unfortunately, very often they're not done well. But I'm optimistic that we're going to do that. A couple of specific questions that I often see is sometimes on surveys, you get stuck on a question. A person isn't able to really give the right answer and wants to leave it void. So will we be stuck on those things? You don't necessarily have to answer these. I guess it's more of a heads up as to things I see. The second is ability for open-ended questions, because there's somebody in the community that has thought of even though we got this amazing, huge committee that's looking at this, there's somebody that's got an idea out there, and then having those open-ended questions, I find them incredibly useful at the council table when we see those. And then the third is just an idea, because quite often, you do all your testing, your internal testing of the survey, or at least I hope you do. And yet something slips through the crack and there's a little glitch. And so this is just an idea. You got a big committee, and it would be interesting information if that was your trial run with that committee with true answers as to where they're at this point. Because it would be an indicator of where that committee is going to. It might not be something you want to put out in the public. It might want to be, but it might be a good way of testing the survey for little glitchy things that typically are in just about every survey. There's usually something that's a little glitchy. So that's it. Thank you, Mayor Souls.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Plummer. Any other comments, questions from council? Councilor Orlando.
Yeah, Your Worship, through the chair, just focusing on the proposed site locations. Darren indicated that there would be additional information on the survey. My question is, will that include pricing estimates, for example, cost of engineering at the landfill or acquiring a site? And the second part is also with the site B, the existing location, will there be clarity on whether that is going to mean knocking down the building and building, or building adjacent, building next to it and moving over? So just seeking a little bit more detail on those.
Go ahead, Mr. Harding, please.
Yeah, we initially explored that, but in explorations with our quantity surveyor and starting to list out the number of different details for each site, I think trying to put a number to it with this minimal amount of information would not provide an accurate enough number for it. So I think we are wanting to keep it, we won't have a specific number for the cost of each site because the unknowns are so great at this point in time.
Follow up, Councilor.
Just regarding the site B, if it would be clear whether the plan is to build next to it or knock the building down and build on top of it.
Mr. Harding, is that clear? Question?
Yeah, the intent would be to build in the place of the public works yard and not on top of the existing building. If you were to build on top of the existing building, you'd have a disruption of service during the construction phase.
Yeah, and a follow-up, I'm not on the committee, but I attended the last meeting, and some of the discussion was around the latest engineering report from 2024. Nobody has a crystal ball as to how long the building is going to last for, but given our, timeline estimates on construction, are we going to be building prior to that? Do we have a good sense of that? Because a lot of this is focused on finding a new location, but if the build, in order to avert missing a season or two during construction, but if we end up getting to a point where it reaches end of life, then that might make this decision easier. So I'm wondering how the survey is going to approach that question.
Mr. Harding.
That's a hard question. I think what I could offer there is at the point of approval to proceed in a project, once we understand what we are building, you have roughly a year of design, 2 years of construction. So You're 3 years out from an approved point in time, if that gives you a sense of construction timeline. In terms of how that's being communicated in the survey, that's a good point to take away for us as a team and to think about what that means from a timeline.
Okay with that?
Sure. And if I may, just one
Go
more
ahead.
question. Yeah. The survey starts with the first option, option A, which is replace Forum Arena and curling at 800 seats. What about, and then the other options are essentially moving up to larger or different variations. What about having an option below that? So one of the options presented back in 2017, 2018 for this was a smaller facility, so smaller seating facility. Has the committee considered that as an option, testing it out? And the obvious attraction with that would be cost. It's cheaper. The downside would be that would very much limit spectator-based hockey, junior B hockey. So I'm just seeking thoughts on that as something to include to gauge people's interests or feelings.
Mr. Harding?
So the way we've structured the survey is we started as a, understanding that the mandate and baseline of the project was to replace the existing forum and curling. And so that's why we started where we started in terms of how we are asking the public. There is an option D that is part of the survey, which states that they asking the public if they do not support this project. And if they do not support the project, then it sends them into a few different additional questions, and one of them being, would you support a smaller scale of facility? So that's where we intend to capture some of that information. If there are individuals out there that do support a smaller scale facility, we intend to capture that information in the survey in that way.
Go ahead, Councilor. Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. Black, did you have something you would like to add?
I can follow all the council's questions if that's all right with you, Your Worship.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So we can move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a question, but just a comment. I didn't notice the option D is not on here. It's one of the things that's going to roll out through the stages. So that clarifies the question. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Black and then Councilor Palmer.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple items that I would like to suggest for council to consider, that there should be a placeholder in the budget for that infrastructure improvements, which would be parking, and pipes, et cetera, so we should have at least a flat number included in that, and if it's not in the square footage, it should be accounted for. And one other item is that if in fact this facility is going to the public works yard, we do need to document the fact that there will be relocation costs to move the yard to another location at this time, which I believe 2 years ago, the numbers are on the order of $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
So if we move the public works yard, we can add $24 million to the project costs.
Appreciate that, Councilor Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor Souls. Not wanting to flavor the discussion too much, but just I think I share. Well, I think a number of people share the consensus that we don't want to go smaller in Revelstoke.
Right.
I understand the merits of Councillor Orlando. However, I think the mandate was clear, and I think that having that direction and having the open-ended questions looks like you have that for anybody that has concerns. I think it's important to recognize that it is a tourism facility. It is maxed out for Grizzly games and other activities, and it would. And I just don't see our community wanting to go backwards. And then on the finance stuff or other things, certainly items that should be within the budget, hopefully staff are providing that to the budget process. Thank you.
Councilor Chair.
Very quickly, Your Worship, through to Darren, is it possible to include a $20 million plus sign when if someone were to choose site B, so that they understand that choosing that site is going to cost an extra at least $20 million?
Mr. Harding.
Yeah, I think that's something we can explore through with the advisory committee and through advice of the council as well. The number of unknowns at this stage are quite a bit. We'd have to update like what are the facilities that are required by the Public Works? Where will they be located? What's the initial cost for those types of things? And so those are all quantifiable things. It's information we don't have at hand at the moment. And so if we choose to go that route, we would need to create that information to be able to put a decent number to it. If we want to go ballpark, we could take a look at going less accurate and just kind of higher level ballpark and put numbers to it. But certainly something to explore. What is the right way to approach it? Whether we do include a number or more abstract.
It's gonna be the same question.
Go ahead, Councilor Palmer.
Might or might not be the same
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
Mayor Souls, one of the things that I see as we've been going through this process for well over a decade is we get frozen in decision-making because we need all this detail. And, the $20 million, yeah, it sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But in the scope of this whole project, and I think Darren is sort of explaining that there's a lot of unknowns. So Centennial Park's got unknowns with landfill stuff. Powerhouse Road's got, potential unknowns. Pine Ridge Crescent, there's lost opportunity for real estate values. Right. So it goes on and on. And if we need absolute certainty, we'll just be spending millions of dollars of taxpayers' money and never get a decision on that. And I think that's the problem that we have. Now we're well over 3 years in this mandate, and it's we're frozen because I'm showing the leadership on making decisions for moving ahead. But anyway, thank you, Darren, for answering our hard questions. Thanks.
Great, appreciate that. I think that your statement brings up those careful of unintended consequences. So leadership is moving things along, not just standing in one place. Yeah, I'll ask one last time, and then I am going to move on. Councilor Levin.
Yeah, just on next steps, if I may, through the Mayor Souls to the chair. After the survey is live, I might have missed it. What is the deliverable? Are we going to get a report back to council on what is sort of the estimate on the timeline?
Mr. Harding, can you make comment on that?
Perhaps Evan can as well, but the intent is yes, to kind of compile a what we heard report based on what we received through the survey and compile that together and then work on next steps from there.
Okay. All right, appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time today, Mr. Harding. I appreciate the work that you're doing on our behalf and appreciate the updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're just going to move on to recommendations from the committee. I just want to make one statement before we move on. I've received a text. Some of the people that left here earlier were a little confused as to what happened. When we get to the point of where the notice of motion would have been, I will make a statement as to what happened and how we proceed forward, so people in the community will have an idea of what's going on. All right, moving on to the Finance Committee meeting from October 15th. It was deferred from October 28th. Regular council meeting. Ms. Moore, do you have oversight or comment you want to make on that before I go to council?
Through the chair, I would like to advise council that should they defeat this motion in front of them for agenda A from recommendations from the committee, we will need to amend agenda item B for the increases going to the public.
All right. So this was deferred. Councilor Palmer, was it? Did you ask for it to be deferred to Councilor Devlin? Do you want to elaborate on that before we move on?
Yeah, I asked for it to be deferred or suggested to be deferred or made a motion to be deferred, however we're going to phrase that, based on the fact that Tourism Revelstoke, the designated or the DMO for the MRDT money, had so that they would have an opportunity to have a board meeting in between the finance committee and when we adopted this. That meeting has happened. There's a wait to get into motions on the table to kind of give their perspective on this. But yeah, it was basically to give them a chance to talk about it, to hear their perspective on the matter outside of just a simple email that doesn't really capture nuances or engage in any sort of conversation. So we've had that opportunity to converse, and happy to have that conversation and put their perspective on the table. And then,
Well, why don't you lead with that?
sure, I'll put the motion on first, just so that, because this has the ability to become debate, and we might as well get that out. So I will move that a fee be administered based on policy F19, allocation of government support services on municipal regional district tax / online accommodation platform revenue pursuant to approval from the province.
Seconder for the motion, Councillor Stapleton. I'll let you elaborate first on.
Yeah, so to kind of sum it up without a massive amount of detail, it was quite a lot of that meeting was spent on that conversation. The Tourism Revelstoke board as a whole has a lot of feelings. The overall takeaway was relatively negative to this, and it was based on mostly, in their opinion, the timing of the motion. They are in the process of their budget. Their budget was, in fact, I believe, due to be 2 days ago, maybe something like that. A few days ago, we pushed this back until after their budget was intended to be approved. Simply because, so it was the timing. There wasn't a lot of conversation about this beforehand. They feel that because they are expected to come up with their own budget pursuant to approval from us, then in which case, this conversation could have happened significantly earlier. They brought up a lot of conversation about the benefit of tourism as a whole, what it gives back to the arts and culture scene, what it gives back to various events in town. They feel, from their perspective, that trying to phrase this in a way that doesn't necessarily get taken the wrong way, but in order to take essentially money away from their overall budget, it gives them less money to do for the things in the community. That's their overall perspective. They see that the value of them having more money in the MRDT and in their own budget is higher value than what we essentially the taxpayer. That's what I'm looking for. Subsidized.
Okay. All right. So I'll get to you in a moment, Councillor Cherry. So we're looking at $73,000 administration fee from the city for this. We have other administration fees that we would charge. We charge others throughout our organization. That's where we're at. If we were to defeat this bylaw, we need to come up with that 73,000 in our budget for 2026. So that might mean that we need to put less money aside into reserves or something to accommodate that. Councillor Cherry, comment.
Yeah, if I can, just a question to Councillor Devlin. You said budget. Do you mean draft budget?
Draft budget, yes.
And then my second question is, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars does that draft budget increase this year?
It's a great question. Probably one for the TR board. I haven't actually seen the comparison to last year. It is my understanding that they were shooting for 7%. So originally this was supposed to be a 3.35% of the total MRDT administrative fee. I believe there was some comment from the province that it can't be a flat rate. It has to be cost recovery, kind of a billable hours thing. You might have to.
Ms. Moore has comment, so we'll go to her.
Through the chair, the published agenda tomorrow for the committee of the whole has a draft budget. It increases by $369,000 for general MRDT, not including OAP.
Thank you. That's it.
Any further questions? Any further comments on the motion on the table? And I will call, go ahead.
If I'm able to speak.
Normally I would ask you, Nico, to speak, but if you have something that's pertinent to the discussion, I'll let you speak briefly.
Please, thank you. One of the key features that was not mentioned by Councillor Devlin was that our current contract does not permit this to happen at all. It would be a breach of contract. That's never been mentioned, and that was something that was made very clear in that meeting.
Thank you for that comment. Ms. Moore, do you care to weigh in?
Through the chair, I believe any further context will be considered in camera.
Okay, all right.
Which is exactly why I didn't bring that up. We had some discussions behind the scene. It was the opinion of the city that it is within the contract.
So I am going to go to staff. Do I need to move this conversation in camera to carry on? Or can we make a decision in the public realm? Councilor Palmer, you would be able to weigh in on that.
Yeah. There's a motion on the table right now that's not taking an allegation of breach of contract in consideration. If we pass this, and if there's a problem with that, there is opportunity for rescinding or modifying in the future. Or, sorry for, I'm sort of maybe jumping into the staff realm here. I mean, we could defer it, but then we have to defer our budget stuff as well. And even on that, you know, there's opportunity for changing that in the future.
Sure.
But if we're going to talk about, you know, it's, I think, a bit unfortunate, that discussion on legal does need to be in a closed meeting.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments on the motion on the table, Councilor?
Yeah, just in general, I had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Leaners, who's the chair of the board, and think about this. And I'm not supportive at this point, largely because it's partway through an agreement. I understand the rationale that staff has presented, but I feel that given the greater good of all of the relationships and various entities that work over at the Visitor Information Center, on Victoria Road there, and all things considered and the stakes at hand, I feel that the net benefit would be to not move ahead with this and reconsider it later, such as when contract renewals happen, and furthermore in further discussion with the stakeholder or stakeholders involved to understand their perspective and perhaps hammer out something that is that everyone can be happier with.
All right. Appreciate that comment, Councilor Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor Souza. Another option is we could actually go in camera right at this moment, have everybody leave the room, have that discussion. Who knows how long it would take? I mean, I don't think that's necessary at this point. Recognizing we're dealing with some delicate stuff, but we're not trapped in a corner, and we are making good progress on the budget.
Right.
We're already looking at, some increases, the 3.75, 4.75, 5.75, without changing anything else. If we modify that, that goes directly on taxation on the residents. So not speaking of the merits behind that, but I'm ready to move ahead with this particular policy. It's consistent with the other areas. And I recognize that, it's money, it's dollars, and the sensitivity around that and the communications, how that's all done is all. But again, we do need to make, decisions and not get frozen in our ability to make decisions in moving ahead. So I'm in support of the motion as it is right now. And if there is some need for adjustments, we have plenty of opportunities to adjust that. Thank you.
Any other comments from council before I call a question? Seeing none, I will call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? Note Councilor Orlando is opposed. Council's in favor. This motion passes. All right, we're moving on to 8B, the financial plans for the budget, proposed spending packages. Ms. Moore, you have oversight before I start putting these motions on the table.
Through the chair, no further comment from me. I'll just reiterate that the plan is to go for public engagement this Friday or next Monday to publish everything. And that will intend to do 2 public engagement sessions, one at lunchtime and one late afternoon for the evening.
Great, appreciate that. Someone want to put the motion on the table for me, please? Councilor Devlin.
Move that the financial plans and the highlights within the financial plans be circulated for public feedback and comment, including increases as follows. Property tax 3.75 percent increase in 2026, along with 4.75% and 5.75% increase scenarios. Garbage rates 6% increase in 2026. Water user rates 4% increase in 2026. Big Eddy water user rates 4% increase in 2026. Sewer user rates and sewer frontage charges 4% increase in 2026, and that the financial plans, including the operating and capital major project spending packages, be presented for public comment and feedback.
Seconder for the motion, please. Councillor Luke. Any further discussion on this motion? Councillor Palmer?
Thank you, Mayor Souls. I'd just like to thank staff for putting this together. It's, I mentioned this, I think, at the committee of the whole, you know, that we're ahead of the game as far as many communities. Staff have worked hard to, I think, to keep increases at a reasonable level. For sure, personally, I would like to see, you know, more opportunities for reduction in taxation, but there is compromise that happens throughout that whole procedure. The timeliness of the presentation, Mayor Souls, that we had on the multi-purpose building, which that term, you know, I use selectively, is the implications. Why the 3.75, 4.75, the 4.75 and the 5.75 is to continue to build reserves in a, not a hyper aggressive way, but an aggressive way to deal with that, or the liabilities on getting a new facility. So that's kind of where that's at. And I think we, you know, this is another, we'll have the survey for sure, but this is another opportunity for the community to weigh in on that or other smaller things. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any other comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Item number 2, Councillor Devlin, could you put that on, please?
I will move that the public engagement session be scheduled at the Revelstoke Community Center on Thursday, November 27th, 2025.
Seconder for the motion, Councillor Cherry. Any further discussion on that motion?
Just as I stated last week, I just want to make sure that we have enough time to meet all of our public notice requirements for this.
Ms. Floyd, any comment?
Yes, Your Worship. So I believe that this was advertised. We've set it up to go into the newspaper next Thursday, and it will be on the website under public notices, as well as pushed out on social media.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to utility rate amendment bylaw. Someone put the motion on the table for me, Councillor Cherry.
Move that 2026 utility rates amendment bylaw number 2426 be adopted.
Seconder for the motion, please. Councillor Devlin, any discussion on this motion? We've discussed it. We've done 3 readings. I'm going to call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Moving on to item 9B, zoning bylaw text amendments. Mr. Simon, do you have overview on this?
Your Worship, yes, we have a brief overview we can provide council.
Okay.
Council, the intent of this application is to amend the Comprehensive Development 10 Zone, otherwise known as the Stoke Living Development. They are looking to change some of the development regulations in there to make them, in a nutshell, reflective of the development regulations within our standard low density zone. When we adopted the new zoning bylaw this past April, we updated all of our standard development regulations for low density development. The updates within the zone would be reflective of those. What would end up happening is it would increase the overall density of the Stoke Living development from right now where it's 66 units up to 75. And then it would also increase permitted height allowances for duplexes from 10 meters to 11 meters. We would note within that zone, they're already allowed to build row house dwellings up to 11 meters. So it creates a more consistent development form. You can think some more narrow houses that are a little bit taller to still provide the square footage that people are looking for. In addition, with this change to the CD zone, we would be looking at establishing a new sub area. So that sub area would have 5 units that are purpose-built rental. So they would be, again, anticipated to be row house units, 5 units that would be secured through residential rental tenure. And with that, in conjunction with a contribution of $37,000 a dwelling unit, equating to $185,000 for 5 dwelling units. Staff would be recommending discharge of the existing housing agreement that is registered on title for the Stoke Living development. There's rationale in the report that I will not reiterate in terms of why staff are supportive of discharging the housing agreement, in addition to the $185,000 payment and the 5 units through residential rental tenure. Happy to answer any questions if council has any, and there is a track changes version of the CD zone that is included in the published agenda as well. If there's any specific items that council would like to go over, I'm happy to elaborate further. And we also do have a representative for the proponent that is here if council has any questions for the proponent.
Appreciate that, Councilor Chair.
Yeah, I just have a question through the chair to Mr. Simon. Why are we not retracting the entire CD10 zone? Why are we keeping that subzone in place? Since our new zoning bylaw allows for significantly increased development rights than this current zone has.
Mr. Simon.
Through your worship to Councillor Cherry, as we started, we did go down that path and looked at what it would take to actually repeal the existing CD zone and just wrap it up into a standard residential zone. It did start to get more complex when we started looking at existing approvals that are in place. So issued building permits that have already gone out, as well as building permits that are currently under review. And then it also starts to get into murkier territory when it comes to the official community plan land use designations that are applicable for the property. It starts verging into that potential territory of medium density development where it has a low density land use in the OCP, whereas going the text amendment approach kind of gets us where we need to go for the time being. And then what we've indicated to the applicant is as we continue to move forward and the city's doing a better job at keeping its official community plan and zoning bylaw up to date through various housekeeping amendments, getting those two documents a little bit more aligned, we could look at potentially after build out reverting this to a standard zone, but it does pose several complexities as we did start to go down that path at the beginning. That was the original intent, and unfortunately at this time it just didn't work out.
Thanks.
Follow up, Council?
Oh, relinquish the floor.
Okay. Any other questions before I ask for the motions to be put on the table? Seeing none, someone want to put the first motion on for me, please? Councilor Dublin?
I will move that zoning amendment bylaw number 2426 be read a first time.
Seconder for the motion, Councilor Lucille. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item number 2, please.
I will move that zoning amendment bylaw number 2426 be read a second time.
Seconder for that, please, Councilor Lucille. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3.
I will move that zoning amendment bylaw number 2426 be read a third time.
Seconder for the motion, Councilor Lucille again. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Item number 4.
I will move that zoning amendment bylaw number 2426 be adopted.
Seconder for the motion, please, Councilor Lucille. Any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item number 5.
I will move that bylaw to repeal certain bylaws number 2428 be read a first and second time.
Seconder for the motion, please, Councilor Lucille. And number 6.
Oh,
We have to vote.
Oh, pardon me, all those in favor? We're on a roll there and I screwed it up, sorry. Number 6.
Yes, I will move the bylaw to repeal certain bylaws number 2428 be read a third time and that legal notation CA 9554506 be authorized for discharge upon receipt of payment of $185,000 into the City of Revelstoke Affordable Housing Reserve.
Seconder for the motion, Councilor Lucille again, thank you. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all is in favor? Motion's carried unanimously, thank you. Moving on to item 9C, is there just a, no, we've already done all the readings on that. I'll ask someone to put the motion on, please.
Sure. Why not?
Okay.
I will move that bylaw number 2427 to repeal housing agreement bylaw number 2362 be adopted.
Seconder for the motion, please, Councilor Stapeners. Any discussion on this motion? Councilor Orlando.
Sorry, just a detail question. Is it 236 or 246? Do I know?
It says
I was
236.
trying to take a look and figure it out, but then you said 246.
Okay.
No, you do correct it to say 2362 just above. Are we have the right number there, 2362?
We are on to, yeah. It's bylaw number 2427 to repeal 2362. We love numbers here.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Moving on to fire regulation of false alarm amendment bylaw. Chief DeRosa, do you have an oversight before we move this, please?
Just a couple of things to highlight for council. So it's necessary to amend the false fire and security alarm bylaw to align with the terminology of the fees and charges bylaw and bring it up to the standard. So that we're in alignment with that, otherwise we have some complications. Just a couple of things in here. The change is primarily to charge a minimal fee for the first occurring fire alarm, or previous bylaw is on the third. And so we can just prevent escalating fees and charges. The intention is to help offset some of the costs of running our department over time, wear and tear in the trucks, fuel, for attending alarm calls that we do not represent any evidence of smoke or otherwise emergency situation.
So if I set off my smoke alarm because I'm cooking, you get to whack me with the fine.
But if you make some smoke, you'll be all right.
All right, thanks for that. Someone want to put this motion on the table? Councilor Stapleton.
I move that the fire and security alarm regulation amendment bylaw number 2429 be read a first and second time.
Seconder, Councilor Lucial. Any further discussion on this motion? Councilor Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor Souls. I do have some uneasiness. I have some questions. So specifically on that first alarm, and I can't remember this. I think we discussed this maybe in the finance committee or whatever. But as is mentioned in the report, there is a potential of risk. Occupiers may attempt or disable bypass code requirements to avoid those fees. And so I'm just wondering if we are putting people unduly at risk for pretty minimal amounts and if we're creating habits. So I'm concerned about that. Even for the second, I'm questioning that. So if somebody slips up or something or whatever, their smoke alarm goes off, you know, are we going to start this administrative process of $100? The second part that I'm wondering is, have we looked at other communities and best practices? So I'm just wondering if this is evidence-based, that it's going to actually help things, or if it's just an idea, you know, with good intentions. And then the third part is, you know, so we're going to penalize somebody that has a, you know, the system in their building to protect lives, property, on nuisance calls, on the first nuisance call, but for $100. But later on, when it's getting to this, you know, the sixth and seventh, and it's going on, it's, you know, it's just this consistent amount, which doesn't even come close to those real costs. And so it feels a little bit backwards to me. With the first and second, I would prefer that, you know, we have a little bit more information. Maybe the chief has some more information at this point. With first and second reading, we might have some opportunity to fix some of those concerns. Sure. So I don't know if there's any further comments on that.
Chief DeRosa, do you have any comment on the questions asked?
Through your worship, just a couple of comments. I'll touch on the actual number of false alarms that have occurred so far this year is 23. So primarily what we're seeing is that as we move forward into the second, third, and fourth, and subsequent alarms, there are one or two buildings that are habitually seeing those continued false alarms. And throughout the year, primarily, you know, we'll see of those 23, I think there's only 4 buildings that are actually the same occupier. And so the fees and charges imposed upon those particular properties is minimal. To address the concern for, you know, there is a risk that some may be incentivized to attempt to disable the automatic alarm reporting. So part of that results from companies such as telecoms or those that are not experienced, high quality automatic alarm monitoring companies. I think TELUS, for example, would be one where those are the ones that are experiencing the most potential concerns. And so those are the ones that an education program with information if we attend an alarm, give those out so that people understand that when they have these supplementary alarms, these are not the code required ones. So code required alarms would have consequences over and above just the fees and charges. So attempting to disable the code required alarm has additional consequences. So there's an education component there. And if Councilor Palmer could remind me of the first question you had.
About the fees.
Yeah.
Research.
Yeah, I'm okay. I don't need an answer on the research question. I'd just like to make a couple comments or questions, maybe just follow up from that. So of the 23 first alarms, 4 were from four places that have some kind of a problem, and they get captured later on. And so that means that the 19, so they had an incident that didn't really require the fire department, so smoke, whatever, burnt toast, whatever it was. And they are not problem people, but now we're going to slap them with a $100 fine. And so, give an example, Business Excellence Awards, there was an episode when I was told anecdotally by some firefighters that there was an alarm event in the kitchen for that. So we're going to spend whatever administrative costs, $100, to try and recover money probably from the city, I guess, in that case. And it just does not make sense to me. I'll leave it at that in the aerosols right now, but it seems a bit reckless that we would be charging people for doing the right thing and then fixing that problem in the future. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Stevens.
Just a question through the chair to the fire chief. Is there anything that's preventing someone, say for example, Mayor Stalls is in his kitchen, he's cooking, sets off his fire alarm. Is there anything that's preventing him from calling 911 and saying, hey, listen, I was just cooking bacon, I burnt it. You don't need to send a fire truck, and thereby preventing the $100 fee or charge?
To your worship, so I discourage that because there's a number of risks that could happen. For example, if I wanted to, cause some mischief and call, say, don't respond, that then puts the responsibility on the fire department. We didn't attend, so that could be a lawsuit. The in between the cooking, setting off your fire detector, if that is connected to an automatic dialing system, it goes to a monitoring company. The monitoring company is supposed to call the residents to confirm that there is actually an emergency or is not an emergency. So if there is, they call 911 on the department's behalf, so the fire department. If they answer the phone saying there's no emergency, then we don't get a call. So that would be part of the address on that. Now, if somebody's not home, and so supplemental alarms and automatic alarms are actually beneficial. If you're not home and your fire alarm dials out on your behalf, you're not here to answer the call, the fire department will show up. Reduce losses and whatnot.
Thanks for that comment. It's like Councilor Staples lives in my house and watches what I do. But I have had that happen, and I called my monitoring station and said, hey, don't send the fire department, and I got to go through the security stuff to make sure it's me doing that. So yeah, I understand where that's coming from. So just one question, Chief, on this. So this isn't a bylaw. Does that make it mandatory for the fire department to issue that $100 fine to the first person if we have a situation where it's someone who has a problem financially, and, you know, and I'll look at this grandpa does it, and, you know, and you show up and you go like, well, you know, I look at the house he's living in and that sort of thing and go like, yeah, I don't think that they have the financial resources. You have that option to say, no, we're not going to find. No. Okay. All right. Thank you for that answer. Any other comments before? Go ahead.
Through your worship, I just wanted to highlight that there are three options embedded in the report. Option one is to adopt as staff has recommended. The other two are to essentially, as Councillor Palmer has said, continue with the first and second alarms or variation of as a freebie, if you will. That has consequences that require modifications and changes to the fees and charges bylaw. And option three is the council could consider alternate recommendations at a future time.
Okay, good. All right. Any other comment, Councillor Palmer?
Yeah, I'd like to put a motion to amend the motion to reflect no charges for first and second call.
Okay, so seconded for that motion, Councillor Lucelle. Any further discussion on that? Do you want to weigh in a little further than what you've already done, or you're okay with what you stated?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear what I'm saying there.
Okay.
Actually, maybe I will make one comment. I would be fine for larger fees for the repeat offenders, because I don't think the $400 comes anywhere close to the real cost. But this looks after the immediate thing, and we can look at it a little bit further in the future.
Okay. Any other comments on the amendment? Seeing none, I'll call a question on the amendment. All in favor? Opposed? No, motion is defeated. Thank you. Going back to the original motion on the table, I will call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? Note Councillor Palmer is opposed. Balance of Councillor is in favor. This motion passes. Item number 2. Someone want to put that on the table for Councillor Staples?
I move that the fire and security alarms regulation amendment bylaw number 2429 be read a third time.
Second for that motion, please. Councillor Devlin, thank you. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? Note Councillor Palmer is opposed. Balance Councillor is in favor. This motion passes. All right, we're going to go on to 11A staff reports, heritage alteration permit application. Ms. Hogan, is this yours? All right, do you want to give us a brief overview, or do you have a fancy presentation, or how would you like to do it?
There's no fancy presentation, but I can give an overview.
All right, appreciate that.
So this is a heritage alteration permit application for the construction of a new single detached dwelling in the Revelstoke Station Heritage Conservation Area. The property is located at 316 6th Street East, and it is currently undeveloped. The zoning for this property is RLD1, and it is designated as low-density residential in the official community plan. It also falls within the central Revelstoke neighborhood. So surrounding neighborhood is predominantly single detached dwellings. There is a pre-existing multi-unit dwelling located to the south of the subject property. Majority of the surrounding houses are gable fronted, fronting 6th Street, and roof pitch in the area kind of varies. Mostly have a steeply pitched roof line, and there are some with a more low to moderate roof pitch. Access for the surrounding properties is predominantly from the laneway. So the proposal is to construct a single detached dwelling with a secondary suite on a narrow 25 by 100 foot property, but there are no variances requested with this application. The building features 2 stories. Living space for the principal dwelling will be located on the 2nd floor, and the secondary suite is located on the main floor, and this is for aging in place. The roof will be constructed of black metal. It'll be steeply pitched gable roof with a tall, narrow roof line and shed dormers on either side. The siding is proposed white hardy board with 7-inch reveal at the base, which then transitions to a 4-inch reveal at the 2nd story. They have also proposed white wood shake siding on the gable end of the front facade and natural cedar shakes on the gable end of the rear facade. And The windows are proposed to be black with mullions and one black arched gable window on the front facade as well. Front entryway will be timber post and beam with a natural stain, and the front facade will also feature a sage green bump out with a pitched roof and wood siding with custom detail and a gray brick facade at the base. They've also proposed to paint the front entry door sage green to match the bump out, and there will be a black metal roof over the rear entryway. So I'd just like to note that this proposed design was revised after comments that were received by the Heritage Advisory Commission. The original design is included in the staff, others included portion of the staff report. The applicant took the comments provided by the commission after and revised their drawings to better align with the Revelstoke Station Heritage Conservation Design Guidelines. So staff have reviewed the application against the official community plan and the design guidelines, and we determined that it is in general compliance, and we recommend that heritage alteration permit be issued for 316 6th Street East for the design of a new single detached dwelling with a secondary suite.
Great, thank you, Ms. Hogan. Any questions for Ms. Hogan before I ask the motion? Go ahead, Councillor Chair.
Thanks, myself. Just a question, there was a comment or a suggestion made at the Heritage Commission with a bump out or some sort of roof covering for the side door, so that snow doesn't block or crush anybody coming out of there. I don't see that reflected in the design changes. Has that
No,
addressed?
sorry, through the chair. No, they didn't add one on the side. It is a side door just for bike storage, so I don't think it was necessarily thought that they needed it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments? Councillor Stapleton or St. Councillor Plum?
Yeah, I just think overall, I'm really pleased to see this. I think it's great infill development and really happy to hear that there's 2 units going in there. So well done. Thank you.
Councillor Plum?
Thank you, Mayor Souls. Also appreciate staff and the Heritage Commission, the Heritage Commission for going through that, providing the suggestions, and for the developer for being responsive to those comments as well. And I agree that it's good infill on a narrow lot that suits our community. Appreciate the hardy board, and the pictures sort of give a look of vinyl siding, but in the real world, of course, the hardy board is going to be much nicer, and having that the change of reveal from the upper portion to the lower portion is good. It's still on the picture, it gives us sort of a sense of bulk massing there, and I just was wondering if there could be a slight different tone or not. And I don't need an answer, but there is a little bit of a sense of bulk massing, and I'm not sure if the small reveal to the larger reveal will be noticeable from the street or not. Maybe it will be, but that was just sort of general comments. I think it's really well done though, overall. I think it's really well done. Thank you.
So I want to put the motion on the table for me, please.
Cool.
Councillor Denny.
Why not? I will move that heritage alteration permit be issued at 316 6th Street East for the design of a new single detached dwelling with a secondary suite.
Councillor Cherry, do you want to second?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Thank you. I should have had it the other way around, but it is what it is. Any other comments on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hogan. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Glad to see
So
another.
let the record please reflect that I made the motion and
Excuse me. Mayor Sells, just out of an abundance of caution, that previously declared personal conflict when dealing with all things RCHS. And while this item 11B is not necessarily RCHS driven, I do feel that there's a relationship there. So I'm just going to recuse myself for this one.
Thanks for the statement. Okay. We are going to talk development cost charges. Mr. Simon, I'll let you have an oversight if you would like to give us beforehand.
Through your worship to all of council. So we have 3 building permit applications in right now for the BC Housing / RCHS Downey Street housing project, as you guys are aware. 166 dwelling units. Don't need to go into the details. Council has reviewed this one. It's been in the public domain for quite some time. Because this project is moving forward under the prior DCC bylaw 1781, council has since adopted a new DCC bylaw, but this is considered an in-stream application. Generally, these applications, they are eligible for DCC reductions at 50%. Under the new DCC bylaw, we bring forward everything for council consideration. Historically, it would just be staff would deal with it. Because of this transition, we've communicated to council transparently that this will be coming forward for your consideration, regardless. Under the old bylaw, the stipulations for a 50% DCC reduction indicate nonprofit rental housing shall receive a 50% reduction in DCCs. That's essentially the details that it gets into in the old bylaw. This meets the criteria for that. The 50% reduction would only be applicable for the residential dwelling units. It would not be applicable for the childcare facility that is there. That would be charged at institutional rates. And it equates to a DCC reduction of $495,510. And in working with internally with our finance department staff, we have recommended, and this is another reason why we wanted to bring it forward to council, is getting council's blessing to use OAP funds to offset the DCC reduction. As we do move forward, we will be tracking any DCC reductions because the money still has to come from somewhere when engineering actually goes to do these projects. And as opposed to that coming from general taxation, we're recommending that it comes from the OAP funding account.
So that OAP account will cover the entire 495 grand.
Through your worship, that is correct. It would cover all $495,000. And I believe, and Ms. Moore can correct me if I'm wrong, we are sitting just above $900,000 in the OAP account right now with some commitments that will equate to approximately $200,000 in 2026.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Simon before I ask for the motion to put on table?
And sorry, through your worship, I do just want to note that we do have the proponent here as well, if there is any questions that need to be directed to them as well.
Dive deep into your pockets. Councilor Palmer.
I'll put the motion on the table of development cost charges for BP 2025-105, 110, 115. Located at 421 Edwards Street and 418 and 422 Downey Street, etc., be reduced by 50% in accordance with Section 3B of the Development Cost Charge Bylaw number 1781, and that development cost charge reduction be funded through the use of online accommodation platform funds if the reduction meets the criteria for the use of the OAP funding.
Secondly, Councilor Lucero, discussion on the motion. Councilor Chair.
Yes, I just have a question, and maybe this is best for Director Simon. It might actually be for finance though. With the way this is written, if this is not eligible for use of the OAP, will this be back in front of us? Or will it be fall again on the taxpayers to fund this?
Through your worship, maybe I can just indicate one item and then Ms. Moore can add on. We have confirmed since the report was written with the province that their view is that this should be an eligible cost. Hence should, and they always revert to as long as it's in line with your 1.8 appendix plan, which in our view it is. So we don't foresee any immediate issues, but if it was not paid for OAP funding, if for whatever reason it was not determined to be eligible, then I would defer to the Director of Finance for how we ultimately track that through general taxation.
So can I go to Director of Finance before coming back to you, Councilor Palmer? Or
yeah, I think I have a result for it. So a friendly amendment, if we could just take out the if the reduction meets blah, 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 blah at the end of the motion, then it makes it a requirement and would have to come back to us if it didn't meet that requirement.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So is that clear, Ms. Delassalle, in the wording?
Yes, thank you.
All right. You okay with that? Council Lucia is okay with that as well. Mr. Simon, go ahead.
Through your worship, just one item that came to mind, and maybe Ms. Moore can correct me if my train of thought isn't aligning here. We report, I believe, every May on the OAP expenditures. So we, in theory, wouldn't actually know if it was determined to be ineligible by the province until we actually do the reporting in May.
Ms. Moore?
Through the chair, that's correct. I do want to emphasize that it meets the MRDT guidelines, so I would be surprised if the province gave significant pushback on this, regardless of what's written in our annual tactical plan.
Especially after all the fighting we did to get our money to get this built. That would be a frustration. All right, any other comments on the motion?
We're basically,
Go ahead.
we're basically subsidizing the province anyways on this.
Yeah, we really are. Yeah. Councilor Lennon.
Yeah, just to seek a little bit more clarity, Mayor Souls, on hearing back from administrators of OAP on yes or no. So just for my understanding, based on the discussion here, we would not know until we actually apply whether that is confirmed, or, and they have said, as was referenced earlier, it should apply to it. I'm just trying to seek clarity. And the second part of that is, what about moving forward? Is this going to be a policy direction that we are going to be pursuing with all housing DCC applications? I'm just trying to understand, and especially given the increases in DCCs recently, would that be applied under the new policy as well?
Okay, so Mr. Simon, I'll go to you first.
Through your worship, Councilor Orlando. So the response we received from the administrators of the program said, based on the information provided, this appears to fall within the MRDT affordable housing guidelines. Formal approval, however, is contingent upon review and confirmation of Appendix 1.8, which is our report that we submit and then our subsequent reporting every May. So again, we're working within no one wanting to give a 100% finite answer, but we are as close to certain as we can get until we do that final reporting where it is ultimately confirmed with the province. And moving forward, especially under the new DCC bylaw, staff, when that bylaw was adopted, indicated to council that any reductions in DCCs would be coming forward via formal bylaw to council for consideration. And at that time, it will be on a case-by-case basis, depending on how much money is within our OAP account as well as our affordable housing reserve. I would note, though, that DCC offsets is a critical use of funds within the OAP and affordable housing reserve. It makes a lot of sense. It is directly supporting the soft costs where you need actual cash to pay these fees. And otherwise, you got to take out loans, which just increases cost of housing. So it is a really excellent use of funds at the local level, given the fact that we don't have the funds to support $30-40 million in capital infrastructure. And I would also note too that our current 1.8 appendix plan does indicate DCC reductions, but it mentions on city land. And so the update that council will see for this year is on public land. It's some semantics, but we want to make sure that it is very clearly outlined in our plan to the province that wherever the affordable housing goes on whatever type of government land, we would support DCC reductions. And I would also note too, our policy that guides how we use our OAP and affordable housing reserve funds does have DCC offsets in there. And we did have that run by the province with no concerns thus far. So we're quite confident that it should be straightforward, and whether or not to use OAP affordable housing reserve, again, case by case basis, but it will ultimately be at council's discretion in the future.
Answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Mr. Simon, through the chair. Just one other question. I know council is always eager to get the latest in communications and updates. There's representatives from various entities on this application here today, and I was wondering if the chair would entertain having them available to answer questions or to provide any input or provide any thoughts on what is before us, or seek any clarity or clarification if needed.
So I'm not going to ask the board members to weigh in on the DCCs, but I wouldn't mind an update once we make a decision on this. So I'm going to call a question here momentarily, and then Mr. Tia is online, Ms. Wells is here, Mr. Burks-Hill is here, and our other gentleman is there, and being blocked by the TV here. But so I will ask for just a brief update Because we want to make sure that this darn thing is going forward. So in regarding the motion on the table, I'm able to call because it was a friendly amendment, just call the question. Is that correct, Ms. Wood?
Yes, Councilor Luciano approved it.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to call a question on the DCCs. All those in favor? Opposed? No, motion's carried unanimously.
We bring Councilor Stapleton back in?
Yes.
Still.
He's still, I'm asking for an update before we bring him back. So, Ms. Wells, do you want to start, just with a brief update as to what's happening?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Your Worship. We're really glad and excited to be moving forward, as I think everybody in the room is. We appreciate that the application was considered under the old bylaw, and city staff were supportive in moving forward to help us out with that. And I think it is also important that it's not RCHS making the ask to use the OAP funds. So that's just like, it's on our application for those funds, and council can decide with city staff that recommendation and how that all works. But yeah, just wanted to say that.
Well, thanks for that. And I think Mr. Simon is moving us forward in the prudent choice so that this doesn't come back on our taxpayers.
Yeah.
Because we firmly believe that we have been subsidizing a lot of stuff. Mr. Parliament?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to share some of my optimism, and it's based on the discussions I've had with both BC Housing and RCHS. For me, and what I've learned in the last month as I've gotten into some of the gory details of this entire project on Downey, and when I say gory, I mean the confusion and all the different funding pots and how the formula works. I am quite convinced that with a capital stack of some $54 million already confirmed, with the negotiations going on between RCHS and the proponent, to determining what the mortgage will be, determining what the cost of the rental units will be on building 1, 2, and 3, even though 2 and 3 for now is designated market. I am convinced they will get to that number, which will complete this project. BC Housing is all on board. They're trying to get it to Treasury. They're trying to get this thing buttoned up by March 31st, 2026. I know I came late in the game. This has been on the books for some time, but I can assure you, based on my conversations with the major funder, which is BC Housing, that both BC Housing and RCHS will ink this deal. It's just a matter of coming up with the balance between if it's 80 million, 90 million, and the 53 million that's already been committed. So I am confident that we're going to get there. And I'm glad that I've had a chance to delve in and have some very detailed discussions with both partners. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. And Ms. Wells?
Just one more piece of information that of all the 166 units, they will, as an average, be at 10% below market. And with the additional funding in the the third building, those units will be at 60 to 75% of market. The Columbia Basin Trust was an additional funder on the project. So there's been, first building, there's been lots of work to get the numbers there. And like I was talking to the commitment of the capital funds from BC Housing, we certainly can appreciate that the city is coming to the table, although it doesn't look like as a funder, but certainly as a partner in that subsidizing, making sure that the project goes ahead. So anyway, just I can't say enough how much we've appreciated working with the city to move it along, especially in the last 18 months. So
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. I appreciate that. Councilor Lando, one last time. Go ahead.
Yeah, again, just want to thank the team here, thank council for the support of this project. As Mr. Parliament noticed, there's a big capital investment from the province on this project that's going to go towards cost of building, paying everyone, all the suppliers and all the construction companies here. And in addition to this, related to development cost charges, there's I believe 1.5 or 1.7 million existing in offsite funding. And one last statement I wanted to say is appreciate staff working with the team on this project, which is moving forward at like a really quick pace. You know, we are here ahead of the deadline. We've applied, filed all our building permits, and are really, again, laser focused on that end of March completion, getting final project approval. So this is another step. And finally, yeah, looking forward to in the future, looking at discussions for how we're going to do these charges under the new DCC framework. Thanks to Mr. Simon for providing an update to council here. It's a critical part of future development in the housing space and affordable housing, social housing. So I'm looking forward to continuing those conversations, and thanks for the update from everyone here.
All right, thanks, Ms. Walls. I appreciate the update. Thank you for what you're doing, and we're looking forward to getting this darn thing built. All right, so good. Thank you again. Can we call our councilor back in, please, Mr. Gibbs? So our guests are going to leave here, and as they leave, I'm just let you know, I'm just going to make a statement regarding the notice of motion here. So you're welcome to go, or you can stay, whatever you prefer. So the notice of motion was going to be placed on by Councilor Lucial. I had a private conversation with him just prior to council starting. I asked him if he would be amenable to removing that notice of motion, because the notice of motion unintentionally has caused incredible divisiveness in our community and throughout, it seems, throughout our province and maybe even our country. So Councillor Lucial is wanting to work with both sides of this opinion to come up with something that works for community. It works for both sides to say, hey, we're inclusive in this community. It was never his intention to cause division. So I'm glad we had a chance to speak about that. It's not my intention as a mayor to cause division throughout this community. And in fact, I've been the brunt of some of the comments. I can take that. But what I will say is I want everyone in our community to be able to live in peace. And it hurts me to see the rationale of racism and graffiti and being able to say to people, you don't belong, where the opposite is true. Everyone belongs. Everyone belongs in Revelstoke. And I get emotional about this because of my German heritage. It is weighing on me what happened, but I've been called those swear words. So it's not our mandate as a municipal government to weigh into this field. This is the federal government. So I want us to be very cautious as we move forward. It's again not our mandate to do that. I will seek our legal opinions again if need be, but I'm encouraging Councillor Lucial to have the conversation with the people of the community to say, how do we become inclusive, but not give opinions on how we move forward. So I will leave it at that, but I just wanted you to know that this was very much on the fly and will remain on the fly as we move forward, because this is total ground that we shouldn't even be stepping on, but we will to make sure that our residents are comfortable living here. I want to make that very clear. Inclusivity means everyone. Everyone should be able to live in peace. Everyone should be able to walk the streets and not be ostracized because of their religion, their race, their color, their sexual orientation, whatever the case may be. We all belong, and we all belong in this community. So I want to thank you for taking the time to be here today. I am open to conversation. I will help Councilor Lucy out if he needs help. But I will not step into the fray because I don't believe that's where I belong. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to move on to other correspondence. We received a letter from Tourism Revelstoke. Council, does anyone want to weigh in? Councilor Palmer.
Yeah, further to the comments earlier in today's meeting, I'd like to refer this letter to the today's in-camera meeting.
Okay. All right. Can do that. Thank you.
So I'll do that as a motion.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councilor Cherry. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Communications. We have received a letter of apology from someone who has done some damage to our facilities. I accept that letter of apology. It was handwritten, and I am grateful for that to come forward. And Mr. Gyps, I want to thank you for being able to put that in place for us. Going on to our Economic Development Commission meeting minutes. Councilor Orlando, I'll leave that to you.
Sure, thank you. One of the main outcomes from this meeting, October 16th, was to present recommendations to council regarding the Revelstoke Airport. They are listed out there in item 12, and just out of seeking clarity from economic development staff. Last time recommendations came forth, staff alluded to a subsequent presentation that would include a package of them, and just seeking an update as the minutes actually do report them out here.
Go ahead, Ms. Moffat, please.
Right, thank you, Your Worship. So through the chair, Councilor Orlando, I am bringing a report tomorrow to Committee of the Whole to further discussions on that, so that you guys can have a chance to talk about the recommendations. And the recommendations were from that, the last meeting in October as well as the September meeting. So it's all in one package, as I referred to last month, of being a more wholesome discussion. And then we can bring the recommendations back to November 25th council meeting, so that we can go through recommendations at that point. But tomorrow we'll have the discussion on all of those, and then we can go from there.
Any other thing?
Yeah, just the recommendations, in addition to previous ones that came forward in the minutes, it in essence for the airport presents several different options and weighs them pro and con. The wording here in front of you is fairly reduced from everything that was included in the presentation. So I think that looking at the presentation, going through the slides, looking at a lot of new detail, a lot of new information, a lot of numbers will be really helpful. So I'm happy to have that discussion as we move on, and eventually it will return to council for decision.
All right, thank you.
And thanks to the committee for taking the time to work on this. We had several committee members who stepped up to participate in intensive exercises. And again, thanks to the chair, Mr. Hardy, as well for leading that and providing the recommendations we'll be considering.
Great, thank you. Any comments from council? Moving on to item C, UBCM resolution. So our short-term rental resolution was passed and presented to the provincial government. The standard response, it seems, where they are not going to do anything further. Any comments from council or questions?
Yes. I'd just like to say that they have no intent to changing this now. However, this may change in the future.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that. You have great faith. Moving on to item D, Public Infrastructure Committee. I was away. Councilor Stapenhurst, you chaired that. Comments on the minutes, please.
Yeah, thank you. just a quick update. We met with Director Black and some of his staff. Pedestrian safety continues to be at the forefront of a lot of our conversations. We talked about some, and I'm sorry, we also had Councilor Cherry there as a guest. We had, pedestrian safety at the forefront of our conversations. We're looking at Victoria Road. We're also looking at some tree planting initiatives that the city is undertaking. Mainly, there's some discussions going on with CP about how to beautify some of the adjoining land between CP and the city. And then we discussed some dates for 2026 and an amendment to the time starting at 1 o'clock to better suit some of the councilors' needs that sit on that committee.
Great, thank you. Any comments from council? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to a letter we received from the Ministry of Children and Family Development. They are basically encouraging us to support adoption in our community. They are asking for a proclamation. This city, this council does not do any proclamations as by policy. So we're not going to do that, but we are going to encourage people who are able to be involved in the adoption process to carry that on and encourage others who are thinking about that, because all children should be able to have a home that is loving and caring. Any comments from council? Seeing none. Any questions from the press? I can't see everybody. Mr. Lindquist, are you here?
Nope.
Nope. All right. Ms. Delacelle online, do we have any questions from the press?
We have no questions from the press, Your Worship.
All right. And seeing we're adding something in camera, do I need to alter my request to go in camera, Mr. Wood?
Suggest legal.
What's that?
What letter?
G. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to ask to go in camera pursuant to section 90.1 A, C, E, G, J, and K of the community charter. I think I've covered every letter of the alphabet here. Someone want to make a motion for me? Councilor Loosehouse, seconded by Councilor Devlin. All in favor? Motion's carried. We'll take a few-minute break and come back in camera.